I mean, there's a couple around, but I don't know as if I'd say anything, a whole lot bigger than a 203. I mean, there's some two pills around. You would notice a difference. It's not going to quite be up to, that of a 503.
Maybe get you a box to a 703.
Yeah, the box. We know where that is.
Yeah, I think we're just going to order the 503, but I was just wondering if anybody had anything sitting around.
Yeah, there might be. I don't know of one right offhand. I know there's a couple of tube rigs around. I know Cyclops had a couple he was selling. Base rigs plug in the wall, but they're tubes, so you got to tune them up a little bit. They weren't anything too huge. I think he had a Palomar 300, which is a great amp. Depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah, Roger.
And what's nice about those, the Palomar 300 is a multi-band amp, so I believe it covers, I don't think it's 160, but 80, 40, 20, 10, 15, whatever. So you could run it behind your other rig if you get to that point in your license. It's not going to be a huge powerhouse. I mean, I think it's a 300A, so they're 300 watts, technically. I've seen them dead key 200, sweep tube, so you want to be kind of good with them. You get dead key 100 and swing 300-400 out of it all day long.
Oh, those are the best.
Yeah, I don't think they've made a sweep tube since the 80s. So they're definitely drying up. And then even if you find some NOS, I mean, have they got any leakage over the years? So, if you treat them right, they're still going to last you forever. And I'm sure there's still a ton of people out there, but it's kind of like saying, a Toshiba 2879. Oh, those are fucking dried up too. I would never buy an amp with Toshiba pills in it again, unless it was a great deal. People are charging more for them, which I think is ridiculous. But, sweep tubes, I think of it the same way. Like, I've got my Yaesu amp, holds 4 of them, 6 KD6s, and I got mismatched, all kinds of crap in it, because that's all I had. And I'm like, well, do I really want to spend $400 on a 300-watt amp? I'm like, I don't know. Waiting for Hawkeye to get that 703 in.
.703, yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
I figured, a Carl-Bill 4-pill, that 703. I don't know. I'm probably going to take the 703.
Over a Carl-Bill?
Yeah. I truthfully, I think I would. Love Carl-Bill. Still waiting to fuck away. We got to stop talking. I was going to see if Rooster was going to do any type of more thing in going through it, but yeah, I think the 703 will do a little more than a Carl-Bill, at least for dead key and cleanness of the spectrum purity. You might get a little more to the Carl-Bill swing, but I really think that 703 is going to sound better on sideband. Going to sound good on AM. It's a little more low profile, even though it's longer. if you blow it up, you can replace the transistors in it for like $20. If you blow up a Carl Bildt, you're spending a couple hundred. I don't know. That's just my thought. Don't get me wrong, I love Carl Bildt. Well, that's what I'm running right now. This X-Force, you know, this right here that I'm looking at, this X-Force, Carl built this thing back 30 years ago. And it's still going great. And I got a feeling you run your equipment like me. I know you do. So you bought a Carl Bildt. It's probably going to last you 30 years. Obviously, I've had power supply issues in this, hence why I'd never go anything base that has a built-in power supply because, you know. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the amp section has worked fucking great. But I dead key 100 watts out of it. The 3-pill. I know people that are dead keying 400 watts out of them. You know, it's a 3-pill. Holy fuck, it's a 6-pill. I know people that get 300-400 watts out of them, which I don't do.
Well, let me ask you this. If you were going to buy an amp that you really wanted to shine on sideband, do you think that the Carl Bildt would work better in that respect than the 703?
You know, I don't know if I can answer that 100%. Because I've never opened a 703. I've seen it. I believe the 703 is going to be biased. AB bias, AB1, whatever. Class B, most likely. The Carl Bildt is not going to be biased. You can get the biasing on it for an extra, you know, whatever money. This X-Force right here is biased. And it's going to be pretty clean on sideband. So I don't know. I think that would be, if you spend the money for the biasing, I think you're pretty close to about the same.
Where do they even sell the 703s now? Asking for a friend.
Newegg used to be the cheapest, but I don't even know. I haven't seen. I've seen places on like Facebook deals that still have them brand new, but I don't know about Newegg or Coppers or any of those places. I haven't seen one for sale in a while, but I haven't actually looked. What are they up to now? Like 400, 420?
I'm seeing one here for 519.
Fuck, I was definitely seeing them in the 400 range before. When they first came out, they were 289. Yeah, they stayed that way up to about 320 for several years, and they went up to like 420. They went up $100, so it wouldn't necessarily surprise me they went up another $100.
Yeah, okay, I see Anderson Radio Supply is $429. It says you'll be squishing people in 2 to 5 days. Oh, no, wait, it says ship. Never mind.
I mean, you know, the Carl Bildt has some nice forced air cooling where you don't have that with the, you know, with the 703. You just got fans sucking off, more of like an induction type cooling. But the fans in the 703 are kind of like speed compensated and temperature compensated, which is nice. I don't even know if the 703 has a preamp or not. No idea. You know, there's a whole lot more heat sink on a 703. Granted, there's 16 transistors in it, so that makes a big difference. But there's a whole lot more heat sink. You know, but the cooling on a Carl Bildt is just fine because it's a pressurized system, as long as you don't lose the fan, but the fans are definitely loud.
Put it in the back room.
I don't know. That would be a close toss-up for me, Hawkeye. I think I'd almost have to go down to what looks better to you, physically, what you got room for. That It's a close toss-up.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this 703 online.
Oh, it says one other person in your area looking at 703s.
Oh, crap. My radio tripped out, my loose wire. One left, it says. Let's start the bidding war.
Yeah, hey Monty, just going out to the stream. Yeah, appears to be just local conditions tonight. Just a bunch of us talking here locally, talking amps. Yeah, I got a 203 over here, a friend's loaning me. I was just playing around with it. I like them. I mean, as long as you run them the way they're supposed to be run.
I don't know, it says 36 to 50 amp draw. And I know the Carl built was like 68. That tells me the Carl built is cranking out more power.
So they want $500 for a used one. Oh, that's starting bid for a used one on eBay.
Radio man, tell them what you think of used prices on eBay.
Oh, I was zooming in on the yellow tablecloth.
I know, Hawkeye, I saw a video when the 703s first came out. Somebody had tuned it up for a 40 amp draw. And I forget what it was for a dead key. It was like 400 watts, something like that. And had it keyed up for like 5 minutes straight, 7 minutes, whatever. And it was pretty impressive. I don't think it's going to have the same swing as like a Carl Bill will. You know, I think that's a little bit more on the harder side on an amp. But anyway, yeah, it would be close. But I think those MOSFETs might be a little more, you know, a little bit more efficient. I can take a 4-pill Dave made and it's going to draw 120 amps. And it ain't going to do any more power than that Carl built. But Dave maids are just fucking power hungry. They're inefficient. You know, that's what it comes down to. When you really look at that, it's just inefficient. I think they're about the same price.
Oh no.
That right there, I'm sure, is going to be
Hey, no problem. Feel free to hang out.
Hawkeye. What do we got for prices? They pretty close?
Yeah, the Carl build I was looking at was about the same price.
Damn, I'm eating my hat as we speak.
Wyatt, I just turned the radio back up. Are those car builds power hungry? Is that what you were saying, Screwdriver?
Well, no, he was going by what they say they rate them for power, draw, and the 703, the Aramidley. So he said they put out more power, but that's not always the case. Dave maids are power hungry. Dave maids will take twice the amount of amp.
Yeah, just direct to Monty there on the internet side. Yeah, the president makes good stuff. So 203 and a President Andy. I got some president gear here, and it sounds good right out of the box. No complaints.
With everything else.
Yeah. See, I had heard that about Dave May too.
I gotta freshen up my drink. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I don't like is I don't like the fact that there's 16 MOSFETs in the 703. I would rather just have an amp that had either 2 pills or 4 pills.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I like having the 16 because I think it's not as hard on the component. I mean, I could be very wrong, but I feel as though it's like you're spreading the heat out in a larger surface area. It's not all in one spot. That being said, you know, I know the MOSFETs on radios and stuff, like on the amplifier sections on bigger radios, like the 2995. I know they are particular to SWR, which is one thing. But I just ordered transistors for this, so I don't remember what's in the 703. I would assume it's 13 Q10s. Maybe it's 520s. But I ordered 20 of each of those, and it was like $15.
That's what I like about that technology.
Are those comparable to the 520s?
Yeah, 13 Q10s, 520s are all about the same. Z24s, which are supposedly a little bit more. Haven't done that test yet, but then again, if you can do your own work, that makes a difference. You got to pay to fix an RM Italy. Those 16 transistors are a whole lot more of a pain in the ass to replace. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a,
What's up, guys? Just the internet stream. Jesse Foreigner over on Facebook. Hey, how's it going? I just turned on the light down here. That way, I had the lights on dark, so now the camera's back on color. I just got one light on. It looks pretty bright, but the light's up near the camera. I'll go back to the radio side here real quick, but I am monitoring the chat, you guys, if you got any questions.
Roger. And I mean, I'm sure the Carl built, they sell them with a preamp. I don't know if it's an added cost. Very basic preamp, but, they work. That is a hard one, Hawkeye. I'm not going to lie. I don't know which way I would go. I truthfully think the 703 is going to get a little more power out of it. That's just my gut feeling and what I've heard. People are trying to compare the 703 to a Texas Star Sweet 16. I don't believe that at all. But I think you can do a 300-watt dead key out of a 703 under normal talking situations, not like me. I mean, you could do that out of a 4-pill Carl build too, but I don't think the Carl build's going to last as long if you're doing a 300-watt carrier. Now, if you're doing a 100-watt dead key, swinging up to 500, I mean, that Carl build, it's going to do a 100-watt dead key, swing 500, 600 peak. It's impressive.
Normal talking conditions, yeah.
Well, my talking conditions are, well, my amp's probably about ready to catch on fire again. I've been talking so long.
Yeah, I've been over to your place. Usually you put two of them together and make grilled cheese.
Friggin' right. It's like a George Foreman on crack.
Well, hey, I've got an efficiency question to throw out, and I'm interested in your guys' reply to it.
Your furnace is very efficient because it's putting out a lot of noise.
Not anymore.
Go ahead with the question. I'm sure we'll have all kinds of answers.
Well, I'm counting on it. I want to run a fan. I got the Texas Star 350, and I want to put a fan on it. And my question is it more efficient to pull the air across the fan, the coolers on the bottom, or is it better to blow the air across them?
Ooh, that is a good question. Before I spew off on what I think, I want to hear other people's answers.
Well, I'll tell you my thought on it. My thought on it was to basically build like a funnel, if you will, and put the fan blowing away from the amp and pulling ambient temperature air across them and pulling the heat out.
Well, when it's my turn, I have a statement.
Do it.
I wouldn't. Are we just talking like your little Texas Star? Did I miss that? I say little, but that 4-pill Texas Star.
I got the DX350 HDV.
Okay, so it's a smaller amp than what I have. Pardon me, I'm having a cheese stick here. I wouldn't overthink it, like building funnels and all this other stuff. I just stuck one of those computer muffin fans on top of it, and it clearly does. Like, I just set the fan on it. Mine's it's upside down, and I just laid the fan on it, and it's just blowing air down onto it, and it does do something, because if I turn it off and just talk like I'm normally talking, obviously it gets hot. When I got that fan on it, it cools those fins down very quickly. And I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I was just like, just move air. So I wouldn't think about it too much. I just move air across it. I mean, you know, when you're talking like these big broadcast transmitters, they usually got a fan like down below forcing air in, and then they got a fan up high pushing the hot air out. But that's a totally different situation. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. I just get a fan on it and just move some air.
Yeah, it don't even have to be a high volume fan. Just keep continuous moving air on it. Don't get something that's real loud, vibrating and all that stuff. And you don't have to have it upside down. You can use like sheetrock anchors, you know, and fasten it into the fins that way. And that worked just fine for me for years.
All right, yeah, because when I do get long-winded on this, believe it or not, sometimes I do, this thing heats up pretty good.
Oh, you can melt components off the board. I've been there.
It had the same thing. The fins were on the bottom, which I thought was fucking stupid. And then I just took a couple of tiny fans and put them on there. You could barely hear them. And it worked great.
Yeah, I wouldn't, Rooster, I wouldn't, I mean, it's your hobby, and if you want to like craft something, I wouldn't worry about it. Cause I put a switch on my fan. It just was a fan I had in the junk drawer, and I just tried an experiment, and I turned it off, and like you said, thing gets hot. I mean, you could warm up a breakfast sandwich on the goddamn thing. And with the fan on, you can touch it after I've been talking, you're warm. But just, you know, waiting for my turn to talk, it cools it off very quickly, and I'm just blowing it across the fins, and that's it.
I'll tell you what I did, Rooster.
Yeah, go.
To me, the sound of a fan running is annoying. So I got a really cheap power supply that I dedicated just to a couple of computer fans. I actually glued them together end to end. And I went inside the power supply and turned it down to like 10 volts. So I put rubber feet on the top of the 350 amp, flipped it over, and laid the computer fans on the fins, sucking, you know, blowing away from it. Because I wanted something as quiet as possible, and I figured if you've got a fan blowing at something that close, it's going to be louder than it's sucking the air away, just gently. So that's what I wanted, something as quiet as possible so I could just leave it on, and as long as it's pulling air across there, you're fine.
Just to the internet stream. That's why all my my amps inside this cabinet here, so it does cut down on the noise some. And it's an open cabinet. It has a door on it and stuff like that from the front side, but the sound's more projected out the back, so helps cut down a little bit.
Pull air across them or blow air into them. I didn't know if there was an efficiency thing to it or not. So that was kind of my question.
I'm with Hawkeye on the noise, and with Radio Man with not overthinking it. You don't need much. You just gotta have air moving, and trust me, fan noise will irritate you.
Yeah, I was looking at processor fans that they use in computers, and some of those are pretty friggin' noisy, and I got enough noise kicking around here as it is.
I had one of those. That's what I used. And the one I had had like multiple wires, and depending on which wires you hooked up would be how fast the fan moved. And I mean, I put it on its lowest setting. You couldn't even hear it. It was a whisper. Mine was definitely a processor. Came right off a processor in a computer. Little tiny thing. And even when it was in the computer, I remember when it, you know, if you weren't using any processing power, you wouldn't hear no fan in there. But if you started doing something that required a lot of processing, you know, you'd hear that thing kick up a bit.
Turbo power. Yeah, they've got some pretty quiet fans out. Those little muffin fans, you know, back in the 90s were kind of loud. They've gotten a lot better.
But he was a man.
Muffin Man.
But he was a muffin.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Good old Daryl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Hot Rats is one of the greatest albums ever made.
Alright, so, hang on, let me see if I got it. Alright, here's my long and short of it. Perfectly right, any amount of air movement is going to be better. If you had built a shroud, then sucking air across it is just as efficient, we'll say, as blowing air. But it's not as good for the fan because now you have hot air going out the fan. From an engineering standpoint, if you're going to engineer anything, engineering degree, you never pull air across it. You don't put a vacuum like, that's why amps that are in cases, they're positive pressure. They're not sucking air in through it and out the fans, they're putting positive pressure. So if you don't build a shroud, which you don't need to, it's a Texas Star 350, I run a little fan on top of mine. I run it upside down. Now, you could actually keep it upright. You need a little bit of a, you know, you need some feet, some standoff, whatever. You know, with a fan, you need to mount the fan. But I run it upside down, and I got a thermostat on mine, and I can, you know, play with the temperature to have it kick on and off wherever the hell I want. And I'll tell you, with my long-windedness, it's a tiny little fan. It's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches square, floating around on top and just blowing down. And that thing will actually cool it down so much that it will kick off even while I'm keyed up. I'll watch it go up to 120 degrees, and the fan is cooling it off, and it gets down below like 85, and it shuts off. So blowing on it is probably going to be better, especially if you don't have a fan and shroud. If you look at any industrial type equipment, it's always blowing across the fins for several reasons, and it's usually down below. So if you had it below, blowing up, you know, whatever. But yeah, blowing across it is going to be better. If somebody was engineering a true thing, it's going to be better. That being said, Texas Star 350 is technically engineered to not need a fan. So any little fan is going to make the hugest difference, and not, you know, it's not going to matter at that point.
All right, well, mine is the furnace that's going again. That was going to be part 2 of the question, is pulling heated air through the fan, but you answered that one, so, well, there you go. Thank you very much for all the insight.
I can ramble on about something and almost be coherent occasionally. It's not often, but occasionally.
Well, Screwdriver's grilled cheese is done. Hold on while he separates the two DX350s.
I put them kind of the opposite direction. That way it got like a crosshatch. They're not all the same. The grill marks aren't all the same. It makes for the cheese a more uniform meltage.
A question next too after this question. Okay, you guys have all of this equipment, and I would like to know, how are you powering all of it? Do you have multiple power supplies? You have one monster power supply that's running everything? How are you doing it?
Well, Screwdriver has to undo the wire nuts and electrical tape from his hot tub, first of all.
That's not funny because it's true. I'll speak for myself and I'll let other people chime in because nobody was jumping on it. I do have multiple power supplies for multiple things, I guess. You can go all one big one. Most of the time you'll have a different power supply for your amplifier than your radio. For a few different reasons. We can get into those after, but like I will have an amplifier, I will have a power supply just for my amplifier. Then I have one for my radio. And I have different ones for my radios depending, mostly because they're not all mounted in the same place, but I'll have like one that's just for my test bench, you know, so not all my radios need a 30 amp power supply. Most of them only need about 10 amps and, you know, not even 10 amps, you know, so that's just what I have. I have multiple, and we'll see what other people have.
How many amps is your amplifier pulling?
It depends on which amplifier. You know, my driver, yeah, not bad. 10, 15 amps. My big one, couple hundred.
Let me see. All right. Yeah, I got multiple power supplies. I mean, just what you're hearing right now, just one big old Astron 50 amp to talk on the radio. But I have, you know, multiple power supplies down here because I have more than just stuff for the CB radio hobby. And it's sometimes I put a power supply convenient to the piece of equipment that I'm trying to power. But yeah, I have multiple power supplies. I mean, I guess I could just have one. But I mean, you know, what I'm sitting here talking to you on right now, yeah, I'm just using one power supply right now. But to run the entire operation down here, multiple.
Yeah, I got a Astron, I guess, 20 amp that's dedicated to the radio, and then I got one of them Tech Power 50s that's dedicated to the amp.
Plenty.
Yeah, say that again real quick there, Andy. I heard what Rooster said, but I didn't hear what you said. You guys doubled for a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got two power supplies right now, but I was thinking one power supply just dedicated to an amplifier.
That sounds fine to me.
I can't even hear.
Yeah. Usually that's a good idea for one, you can bolt up the power supply a little bit for the amplifier. You might not want it for the radio. And for two, if you're running an amp with a lot of swing, especially on sideband, you're going to get, I don't care how big of a power supply you go, unless you got, you know, a 200 amp power supply, you're drawing 10 amps. If you're drawing half of what the power supply can handle, you're going to get a little bit of dips and, you know, hard pauses on sideband. So I just think it's smoother to let the radio kind of mellow instead of the, you know, with the amplifier.
Yeah, just direct to the internet stream. Yeah, it's pretty common, Monty. You know, people usually one for the radio, one for the amp. Pretty common.
If you're talking something like a 503, yeah, you know, a 503 and your Aircat 980, you got a 50 amp power supply, it's going to be more than enough. Fuck, probably a 35 amp power supply is going to be more than enough to run both of those, and you'd never notice it.
Speaking of 980, did you guys see that video I posted about somebody? It's I don't know, it was in a different language, but I watched the video, and it's some sort of like, I don't know what you'd want to call it, like a Channel King with a DDS VFO. Somehow it's integrated into the display, and it uses all the buttons on the 980, but it does everything: AM, FM, uppers, lowers. I think it even does friggin' VHF and HF receive. I don't know if you guys saw that video. Supposedly it's going to be available here.
I did. I was very curious about it for many reasons. Yeah, it was impressive looking, and it was kind of more like the DDS VFO, and it just used a stock display. By the looks of it, which sucks because the stock display is, you know, the issue. I know Channel King made one, but it didn't have that much for capabilities. I don't know about the... You have to do more work than just a display, though, for FM. So, The radio does have some capability already for 2-meter receive anyway, so, I don't know. I would definitely be interested in... seeing it in this language to really know what it was capable of, but the video looked cool that you posted.
Yeah, you know, I didn't try it. Sometimes you can turn on the subtitles and it'll translate it. I didn't think of trying that. I've done that before, where it's like subtitles, and you're like, fuck, but you can have it translate. I didn't think of trying that. I don't know if you can do it on your phone, but I've done it on a desktop before.
No way.
What? No way.
Smoking something better than I am. You try.
Was that a Regal?
Regal? I don't know, was it?
All right.
What's going on, fellas?
Good evening, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Regal.
Good evening, right back at you. I figured I'd jump in there for a few minutes. I saw online, I was flicking down through that you had a live feed going on, so the lady was heading to bed. I figured I'd come hang out for a few. What do you think?
Hell yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's a terrible noise.
Sorry, I farted. I can't believe you actually heard it.
No, I'm not talking about your fart. I'm talking about this fucking squeal I got going on over here.
I see. I think I need to bore a big hole through my fucking cubicle here so I can get some wires out the back from underneath now.
This morning we had a big video chat between me, my two sons, and my father going on, and half of them were hearing echoing and coming through their feed, and I wasn't hearing nothing. This one was bitching it was coming through theirs, this one was bitching it was coming through theirs. I didn't have no problem either way. They had my father signing in and out. It was a fuck show.
You're mic on your video chat? That's awesome.
Well, that was my father's question. You got an echo button? I don't know.
Freaking right.
Of course, Dad just turned 81 the day before, so, you know, just to have him in video chat alone is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no doubt.
Good evening, Mr. Regal.
Good evening, Mr. Fix-It. I get both my parents on video chat from time to time. My mom's 80 and he's 81, so they still got it going on technology-wise. We push it on them.
That's good to hear.
We tell them this is a new modern technology way of visiting when you can't visit a lot.
Well, folks, I got to cash it in for the night. Sleep has been kind of hard to get these past couple of weeks. That's why I'm not on too much. But hey, thanks a million for all the input on the fan thing, and I'll catch you guys again.
Whoa, we had extensive testing you needed to conduct tonight.
See you later, Rooster.
Yeah, have a good night, Rooster. See ya.
You bet. And on that note, the furnace kicked on. Have a good night.
Catch you later, Rooster, across the river. Mister, have a good evening.
Sir, Mr. Regal.
Well, you know it's not cold at Rooster's house.
No, the furnace is firing, no? That was the problem my father had at the beginning of the week. He's got a boiler he just had installed, I don't know, 5 years ago. So that thing's still under like a 10-year warranty manufacturer's wise. And he keeps having problems here and there, and blah, blah, blah. They keep fixing this, that, and the other. Well, this time he was losing hot water. Got a computerized boiler that ain't supposed to be losing hot water when it's only 5 years old. They were telling him it was the circulator, accumulator or whatever inside the boiler at first. And he's like, I can't find that hard to believe, but he's got hot water, so they convinced him, yeah, it could be the accumulator coils or whatever. So that's what they were shooting for at first. They were telling him like $1,000 fix. And he's like, ugh. Come to find out it was one of the circulators that move the water through the pipes. There's one for the hot side, domestic water side, and one for the boiler side. So one of them was bad. So they come over and replace one of those. It was good for like 12 hours. Next morning he woke up, no hot water. The one they installed was installed backwards, so the two pumps are fighting against each other. I said, you fucking serious?
Whoops. Yeah, that's kind of screwed up, Regal. I was talking to a guy at work the other day, and he was having a problem. And he called out, I don't know, some company. And he says that I think the thing was kicking out, you know, wasn't lighting. So you get up in the morning, the house be cold, and you have to hit the red button. The guy came out, and I don't remember what he said he did, and he says, week later, it's kicking out again. I says, I think half these companies, none of these guys know. They're just guessing.
Yeah, well, they're going to keep messing with it like that. Yeah, there's somebody not figuring something out when they're there on a visit. The bottom line of his story was they had to come out the next morning. They fixed it on Friday, and they had to come out on Saturday morning or whatever. I said, I hope you didn't get charged a weekend or an after-hours call or whatever, because they weren't open on a normal weekday. after coming out to fix up the last guy's fuck up. Well, no, they had mentioned it was going to be X amount. I said, I would hope you didn't pay them no money to fix that. That was just stupid on their behalf.
Huh. Well, I guess we'll find out if they tried to charge him for it, huh?
Well, they charged him $500 to install a new circulator pump and put it in backwards, so I would hope he didn't have to pay twice for the same ignorance.
Yeah, I would hope not either.
A new digitized boiler, they're all made by different companies or whatever, but there's certain brands that some companies don't maintenance, I guess. They're not familiar enough with them or whatever, I don't know. He's got one of those oddball ones, I guess. But everybody has the newer style digitized boilers, but not everybody's familiar with that particular one he was installed.
Isn't that the way? Kind of like, why the fuck you sell them then?
Exactly. The guy he had installed it for whatever reason didn't turn the warranty in for some ignorant reason or whatever. I don't know why he never forced him to do it. But some things that are supposed to be covered under warranty are not because he didn't force his issue on getting that warranty mailed in or whatever, which is dumb. The guy that installed it had to sign off on the warranty, obviously, to get the backup on it.
That's like a friend of mine, this is up Bangor way. He bought all his appliances, you know, at a local, you know, kind of like an Agron, but, you know, up his way. And they sell furniture. And he's like, I bought everything from these guys because they would deliver it. And, you know, he had a problem with the ice maker on the refrigerator. And the company just finally threw their arms up. And they're like, well, we don't know what's wrong with it. You're just going to have to deal with Samsung. He was like, what the fuck? I mean, he was really mad. He's like, I spent a lot of money with these guys. And they just kind of like, they couldn't figure it out. And he's like, well, they just refused to work with him anymore. He was pissed. He's like, well, you know what? That's pretty stupid. You know, lose a customer. I've been buying appliances and furniture from them. And he had to go through Samsung. And they ended up sending him a check, I think, to replace it. He went back and forth, and they go, okay, well, we're going to send you a check, but before we send you the check, you got to cut the cord off the back of the refrigerator and then send us a picture showing the cord cut off. And he goes, well, what the fuck am I supposed to use for a refrigerator? I need that money to go buy a refrigerator. And they're like, oh, all right, well, we'll just send you the check anyways.
Wow. That's incredible.
So they sent him a check. He kept using the refrigerator. It was just the ice maker. So they sent him a check, and he got the check, and he went out and got a refrigerator. But yeah, they go cut the cord off and send us a picture of it. And he's like, well, whoa, I can't do that. I need a refrigerator.
Yeah, they wanted them to disqualify it or whatever before they said the check was approved. Yeah. I do know under appliances, any appliance anybody buys new, the state of Maine law alone covers them for 4 years. If your manufacturer, the company you bought any appliance for brand new, gives you any shit about replacing anything within the first 4 years, the governor of Maine will back that up for 4 years, getting your appliances covered one way or another. There's a state law against that.
I didn't know that. I learned something new.
Yeah, there's certain caveats to that. The manufacturer has like 3 chances to send out a repairman to try and repair it first.
Right, there's little subsidies that go along with it, but by all means, if they fail and refuse to do anything about it, shit comes to hell high water. The state of Maine will back it up for 4 years of that appliance.
I know when we bought this place, when we had the addition put on for my mom's apartment, we put a mudroom between the two places. And when they attached the mudroom to my house, the anchor that they used and they drilled through the sill to, like, you know, permanently tie it into my house, they drilled right the lag or whatever you want to call that fastener went right through the 240 line from my dryer. And when we bought this house, we put all new appliances in, and my wife calls and goes, the dryer's not working. It's kicking the breaker out. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So, of course, you know, I don't know if you guys ever dealt with construction workers, but a lot of them don't want to deal with the homeowner. I'm talking the workers, not the company or the supervisors, the workers. So the workers are here, and I'm like, you know, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm not a construction guy, but I know enough about shit. And I'm like, so I checked the breaker, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. You know, I'm like, hey, you know, you guys are working in this area. Did you, like, do something? Because my dryer's not working. And they just blew me off. So I'm like, what the fuck? Wouldn't even talk to me. So I go downstairs. I'm like, all right, so they're working here. I start pulling back the insulation. I get a ladder out in the basement. I'm pulling back the insulation on the sills on the top of the foundation. Friggin' fastener went right through the 240 line. Nice big black star where like a big arc flash came out. I take a picture of it. I send it off to the supervisor for the job, and they were like, oh my God, we are so sorry. And I said, yeah, you're going to have to get an electrician out here and fucking fix this. And they said, absolutely. You know, they didn't give me any shit. They got an electrician out here. They fixed it. And I said, you better hope that didn't fuck up my dryer. You guys are going to be replacing my brand new dryer too. Luckily, it didn't do anything to the dryer, but it was kind of funny. The guys in the work crew, they didn't want to hear shit from me. And the foreman came down. He's like, you fucking idiots. He's yelling at these guys. You're lucky he didn't freaking die.
Yeah, the workers never want to admit to anything. They didn't do that. We didn't touch that. We didn't do that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I took a picture of it. You know, like I said, I get shit happens. I just didn't like that they blew me off. It's like, wait a second, you guys are working in this area. I mean, I know you're attaching this mudroom physically to my house. I mean, something happened, guys. Come on. No, we don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, you weren't attaching anchors down in this area? No. I took a picture of it, and I said, yeah, you guys got it. They were good about it. They fixed it, you know. I had to talk to somebody in management, basically, to get it straightened out, but they took care of it.
But it would have been at least nice to see the workers at least take a minute and go through things and look around and see if they had messed with anything or whatever, like you did. You know, let's go on the other side of the box hill and see what we might have hit or whatever. But, oh no, they didn't even want to do that, obviously. They just wanted to say they didn't touch them.
Yeah. Luckily, that was... it was just funny. You know, I was at work. Luckily, I work close to home, so I'm like, all right, I'll be there. I came right home. I was like, God damn it.
At least if if they were working near that area, I got a feeling that somebody probably, you would think, you're going to hear a pop, It may be, if it was a rotary hammer, maybe they didn't hear it, but I mean, that's kind of, that's questionable at best.
Tell you one thing, though. The camera in a phone is quite the thing these days, because I've had some issues over the years dealing with people, and you take a picture of a fuck up and you send it to the right person, it definitely gets results.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I'm sure you've seen this with some of the past work that you've done, but like I've had this happen to me where, you change out a tire, and somebody's like, well, my engine's making noise. Or, you know, you change the oil, and all of a sudden my brakes are squealing. Like, well, wait a minute. No, changing the oil has nothing to do with your fucking brakes. You know, and people just, because somebody worked on it, that must have been your fault. It's like, no, it's probably already doing that beforehand, whatever, you know. Like you do hear that kind of shit quite frequently. I don't know about in construction, but, you know, I'm like, so I hear that shit, or I used to hear that shit all the time, and it really would make me not even want to check it, because I'm like, yeah, no, we didn't fucking touch that. You know, you do just to shut them up, but yeah, it's you hear it a lot.
Oh yeah, you do an oil change on a car, and you know, well, reverse stopped working. That had to be something you've done.
Yeah, you change out windshield wipers. Well, my vehicle won't start, or you know, I'm getting smoke out my exhaust, or you know, the headlight's out. It's like, the fuck does that have anything to do with me?
It's become less of a thing now because it's becoming more of a factory option, even for, you know, fairly entry-level vehicles, is remote start. You know, back in the day, I would put remote starts in my vehicles myself because I knew how to do it and I was comfortable doing it. And I would get hit up all the time. This was back, I don't even know if there's places that exist that do this anymore. There used to be places that installed that shit. I don't even know if those exist anymore. And people would, you know, hey, you want to install it? And I'm like, nope, I ain't doing it, because there was a fair amount of shit you had to tap into wire harnesses, and you know, I did them in all my vehicles, never had an issue. But I knew the first time that freaking car didn't start, I would be the first call, and I would always, because it wasn't even like I just didn't want the side work. And they were coming to me because they thought they'd get it cheap. And it's like a friend of mine said, you know, he's like, no, if I'm going to do something like that, he's like, I'm doing it for the same amount of money as the shops are doing it. And he's like, that's what I would tell people. And they'd be like, whoa, you know, they like, oh, I thought you were going to do it for like half. And he's like, fuck no, I ain't doing that.
Yep. Yeah, I had one fuck up on me once. And it was after many years, but depends on the type of vehicle. You know, you started getting new enough to where the vehicles had security systems in it. Now you had to bypass the security system. There's already a liability. But, you know, some of them, you had these transponder keys. So you needed to put a spare key. You had to order a fucking $125 key. And then it was like a $50 module. You had this case that had wires in it and shit. You had to put a key in so it could read the key to bypass the security in order to get it to start. Well, I had a little Cavalier I did it on for my wife, and worked for like 10 years, flawlessly. I got the car, it left me stranded twice until I figured it out, but it was similar. It didn't need the key, but the key had a certain resistance in it. It was the first generation pass lock. And so you had to cut wires in the fucking column, you had to measure the resistance of the key, and you had to get this little decade box, I assume you know what a decade box is, and you had to put that resistance in and a relay. So when it went to start it, the relay kicked in and it looked at the decade box and it thought there was a key in there. It's the only way it would run. Well, after years, the relay started kind of fetching up occasionally, and it was throwing some different resistances in with it. So I'd go to start the car, not even with the remote start, go to start the car, and it would fucking fault out for a pass lock. It would leave me locked out of the car for a half hour before it would reset. Sometimes, the first time it didn't reset. But yeah, it fucked me all up. But it was just old enough where it had those type issues. And I could see it definitely happen on other stuff. I ended up not, you know, it happened to me during the summer. I ended up shutting because I had switches on it, you could shut the actual, you know, remote start off, and then it never happened again. So I just left the fucking thing off.
Yeah, I know what a decade is. Yeah, like I just know. Oh, and a side note, if you ever run into it, like with chip keys and shit like that for these new cars now, the friggin' the Ace Hardware, and I don't know if all Ace Hardwares do this, but the Ace Hardware in gray has the programming box, and they can do that shit for a fraction of the price of the dealer.
I saw that when I was getting some oddball keys made this fall fall. He said he couldn't do all of them, but he said they can do 90% of them, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, because when I bought my truck, you know, it was a used truck, and it only came with one key fob, and I was like, you know, my wife, you know, wanted one just in case she ever had to hop in my truck for a reason, and we researched it a little bit, and I don't know, I think it was the same thing. She was in the Ace Hardware, and she's like, well, what? The guy's like, oh yeah, we can do that truck, and I went down there. I don't remember what the dealer was. I want to say it was like a couple $100. I want to say they did it for like $70 or something, maybe less. It was pretty, you know, it was way cheaper than the dealer.
Nice.
But the last car my wife had, I put a car start on, was this little Nissan, and it had the key fob, you know, the proximity key, and the push button start. And we bought that car. I can't remember if we bought that car new or like a new used. I don't remember. But it didn't come with it, and we researched it, and it was going to be really expensive. And my wife found some company that did an aftermarket one, and it was pretty affordable, so we got it. And she's like, can you put it in? I'm like, yeah. Holy fuck, was this thing complicated. Well, when you installed it, you had to like plug into the ODB2 port. You had to get the key fob out. You had to connect to this website, and you had to do this whole fucking sequence of things inside the car, pressing buttons, pushing pedals, doing all this shit. And it would send it to the website, and it would somehow decode it. And then it would program it so that you could somehow, it would spoof the car when you press the button to make it think that the key fob was present. And let me tell you, my butthole was puckered doing that, because they were like, make sure if you're on a laptop, you're plugged in. You make sure you got a good internet connection, because if this screws up while you're doing it, you could like almost like kind of brick the car and cause it to have to go to the dealer. Luckily, it went through and it worked okay.
No doubt. Holy fuck. I just seen a mosquito flying in here. It must have got warm enough finally. I've had this thing running all day that something awoke up.
Must have been a fruit fly come up between your legs.
Oh!
And
That was a full body slam way from left field.
I know, right? That almost hurt.
I've been picking up on those online chats in the last day or two.
What's up with that guy, Kevin?
I don't know. And I don't know if he talks about me when he says my name in there, or if he's talking about the other Greg that's in there. I'm like, I don't know. Kind of, I don't care, but it's just kind of funny. I'm like, I can't tell if he's trying to be funny, or, you know, that's the part that sucks about text. You're like, is he truly butthurt, or is he just being funny?
I think he's using like speech to text, because I don't understand half the stuff he's saying. And then I was trying to be funny, and he said something about to Floyd. He goes, you sent me an invitation to a private chat. Where is that? I want that again, or something. And Floyd was like, what are you talking about? I said, uh-oh, Floyd's gay chat's been exposed. And then he made a comment like he thought I was being serious, like, never mind, I don't want the chat.
That's why I don't do text.
I'm glad to see I'm not on there. No, I'm not the only one on that same page. I didn't dare to chime in, to be honest with you, for that same reason.
I do a lot of talk to text, and I don't proofread anything. And then half the time she'll be like, what the fuck were you trying to say? And I'll go back and read it, and I'm like, I don't know what I was saying. I'm like, no. But yeah, that guy, I couldn't tell because I made some comment, and I don't remember how it went. It wasn't anything major, but it did kind of make me wonder. I'm like, did I offend him, or did he think it was real, or I don't know. I was like, but he says all the time, he's posting something, he's like, oh shit, that was supposed to be for the other group. So I think he's one of them guys that's got like multiple group texts going on, and and I've done this before. I've sent the wrong text to the wrong person. It's a good thing I don't do any like sexting or anything, but I've definitely sent the wrong text to the wrong person or group and been like, oh fuck, that was meant for somebody else. Never mind.
Fuck.
Trying to spoof in on the last guy that got butt hurt there on people being idiots or whatever. I didn't know if maybe he was trying to play into that same chime or what was going on, but I'm glad to see I'm not the only one that was a little confused on what was actually going on there.
Oh.
Confused easily, Regal. I'm not going to lie.
I sent that guy a message because I thought the same thing, like, am I missing context here? And I sent him a couple messages like, hey, is everything cool? You got some people kind of confused. Well, when he didn't respond to me, and then a couple people started sending me private messages and kind of filling me in on this guy, I said, oh, okay, I see what's going on. No, he was just being a douche.
Well, I kind of thought he was just playing along, but I wasn't sure. I didn't even dare to chime in on a comment, because you know me, I'm good for chiming in a comment when the time's right. But I was like, maybe I'll just hold back this round.
Was kind of funny, though. 10 o'clock at night. I'm hanging out with my grandkid, and you guys are swearing. It's like someone made a comment like, what's your kid doing out of bed at this hour?
Yeah, right. So keep your grandkid out of the adult conversation time or whatever. Yeah, I agree with every comment that guy, everybody slammed back at him. To be honest with you.
Well, he's moved on to greener pastures.
God bless him.
Goddamn potty mouth.
Yeah, I said something about the grandkid being up, and like I've you know me and my mouth, so it's got me into this situation more than once. But I run into the same thing. I know we'll be at a family restaurant, but I'll be out at like Applebee's. It'll be like 11 o'clock on a fucking Tuesday night. And, I start getting louder and start treating it like my own personal bar because, well, fuck it, it is. And I've had people that have said something. Well, can you watch your mouth? My son's over here, he's young. And there's like a 6-year-old. And I'm like, I get right up and nobody ever says anything. And I'm like, what the fuck do you have a 6-year-old doing out at 11:30 on a Tuesday night? Get your ass home, put them in bed, and make them go to school. Be a better parent. And everybody shuts up and sits down, and then the bartender gives me a free drink.
The barroom hero, Screwdriver.
I mean, I've done it before at like 6 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get loud. That's perfectly acceptable. Even at a bar, like I'll go to a pub, I'll go to Gritty's. If it's 6 o'clock, yes, there's a lot of F-bombs dropped and whatever, but I get it. I tried not to. But I'm like, it's 11:30 at night. It's like during the weeknight. They close at midnight. It was almost last call. I'm like, what the fuck?
Goddamn potty mouth.
I gotta tell you something funny about kids and bringing them into weird situations. Let me see if I got it.
Said, it does still slip.
I don't.
I say that. I've been a lot better since I had my kid, realistically, because I tried not to be like that. I was never a filthy sailor like, fuck this, fuck that, fuckity, fuck. But it is part of my vocabulary. It is just a regular adjective. It is no different than any other adjective in my book. And it does come out more often than it probably should.
I got two things to say here.
Yeah.
Swiper the other day made a comment about my random belching during mid-sentence, and I'm noticing you're doing it a lot tonight. That's one thing.
Oh, yeah, do it quite often. Not usually when I'm on the phone for like talk to text, but on here, yeah, it does happen.
So, all right, hold on. I got something about the kid thing. Let's see if I got it. All right. So I got a friend, he's a real nice guy, very generous, or however you want to say it. And he has a little camp up in, Maine, northern Maine. And it's a little camp. It's a camp. There's nothing wrong with it, but I'm just trying to set the table here. There's one bedroom in the camp, and there's a little tiny loft, and they kind of like insulated the porch, so it kind of expanded the camp. And there's a bed out there, but it's kind of like just like a bed in a room. And, I'd go out to he would invite so many people, and it would just be too many people, and it would almost be uncomfortable. One time I went out there, and I don't even know half these people that he invites. And this woman shows up, and she brought like a baby. And this is like, I wouldn't say it's rowdy, but it's all people that are there that don't have kids, and they're drinking, they're playing cards, there's music, there's a bonfire. And I'm like, why the frick? And, it's like, 1 o'clock in the morning, and she's yelling at us that we're keeping the baby up. And I'm thinking to myself, finally somebody spoke up and was like, why the fuck did you bring a baby here? And I just don't understand that. Like, did she not know what she was like? Why would you like, oh, there's going to be like 30 people out of this little, and she was mad because there were so many people and it was loud, and, people were smoking on the porch and the smoke was getting in, and it was like, she brought a baby. Why?
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to have it for kids, this and that. But it's like, you probably knew what you were getting into. And it'd be one thing if you're like, your kids are 5, 8 years old. I remember parties like that when I was a kid. And, not sleeping and hearing all this shit, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So if you're above the age of 5, okay, it's a weekend, you're at a party, you're out in a camp in the woods, that's one thing. But, yeah, I mean, if it's a baby under the age of 5, and you're worried about his sleeping, the fuck is wrong with people?
So that's why my wife don't like going out in public no more.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I just remember thinking to myself, she's yelling at us. And I'm like, why are you yelling? Yeah, no, I know what you mean, Screwdriver. Like, I had a trip up to camp, and all my friends brought their kids. It's a much different weekend. I mean, granted, these kids are all between like the ages of like 7 and 13, right? And it's a much different weekend up there. In terms of the alcohol consumption, and if there's any smoking going on, it's done away from the camp. And, it's, and then like when we're up there snowmobiling, that's a totally different situation of what's going on up there and the amount of alcohol being consumed. And I get it,
That's always a thing. I'm like, you know what you're getting into, whether you're going to drink. Like last weekend, I was just out to camp, last weekend. I had one drink the entire weekend, one Jaeger bomb, because my dad made Jaeger bombs. But that was it. Like, I had no Captain Cokes. I had nothing. Don't know why, but, sometimes that's the key that you're going for, and it's fine. And you kind of just flow with it. But, yeah, I mean, like, during the winter, it's kind of a no kids territory. I mean, I wouldn't say that. Kids come up and they play, they have fun, but I'm like, just be aware. It's going to be cold. It's, we might be inside a lot more. Shit echoes. You're going to be getting really drunk because it's fucking cold, and you're going to have some fun. At least during the summer, you're like, all right, I'm not by the camp. I'm out over here. You're far enough away where you're not worried about keeping a kid up. You're not in the camp. I mean, my wife was, she didn't get much sleep because me and Swiper ended up, she could hear us outside, no big deal. And we come inside, talk on the radio a little bit, just shooting the shit in general out in the living room. I mean, it's a little fucking camp, It's one room. It's an old, 37-foot mobile home. It's not like there's anything to keep the sound from going through. So, I wouldn't have wanted a young kid in the same level. I would have been like, oh, well, let's go into the other camper.
Basically, though, the circumstance, everybody knows that they came there and signed up for, you know what I mean? So if you bring that into your situation, you can't really bitch at anybody for it. 40, 50 years ago, things were a little different, Hey, Junior's got a hold of your beer. Yeah, that little bastard gets a hold of that fucking thing all the time when you're looking.
Exactly.
I'm one of those guys, too. People know that you got me on phone conversation or whatever. Be careful if there's wolves around. Don't put me on speakerphone, because you just never know what I might come out with.
Yeah, I hear you. That does happen.
Oh, that's another one about speakerphone. So a bunch of my friends, a bunch of my friends that I grew up with, we use WhatsApp, a group chat. Well, WhatsApp, you can't do this on Facebook. If you hit play on a voice message, you can take it and put it to your ear, and it'll automatically take it from speaker to the phone handset. And one of my friends got after me about, well, you were swearing a lot in the message, and I couldn't play it in front of my kids. And I said, well, that's not my problem. That's a you problem.
That's right.
That's right. That is a you problem.
I'll catch you guys later.
Oh, you cutting out?
Yep.
You gonna try to make some breakfast in the morning, or no?
I don't think so.
Roger.
Later, Hawkeye. Have a good night.
Have a good one. See you, Regal. Sounding good tonight.
All right, okay. Have a good evening, but good here and there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. He says, well, you were swearing a lot. And I'm like, yeah? Well, what's your point? Like, I'm talking with the guys. If you guys were all staying in the same room with me and your kids running around, yeah, I'll change the language up a little bit. But, as far as I know, that WhatsApp group chat, that's talking with the guys, just, with the long extension cable.
You gotta know the audience where it's coming from, or the place. It'd be one thing if it's you sending a personal message. Maybe you wouldn't expect, fuckity fuck. But if it's going to the same group of guys that you're always like bag tagging and a lot of fuckery's going on, it's just gonna be some type of fuckery. You don't listen to it while your kid's right there. You turn it way down and you put it up to your ear or something.
My youngest son, F-bomb, said to he chats with us in the morning there while he's sitting in his truck waiting to open shop, and F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb. Of course, my 81-year-old father's sitting there and he's choking on his dad brig and torching him up, and like, holy shit, coughing and gagging while he's ripping on a joint. It's like, yeah, okay, you tell that's my kid.
That's the thing, kids are old enough, past 9 o'clock. I mean, if they're old enough to be...
Good evening.
They probably heard more than we're saying.
Yeah, it's not like it's something new. It's, they've all heard it. I get it can be excessive. Like I said, I used to be worse. I feel as though I'm pretty good. Good evening. Mr. Wingnut.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing. We're just talking about, certain people's phone conversations you might not want to open up on speakerphone, shit like that. Nothing's going on. Nothing like, that.
Oh, 10-4. Yeah, you want to be careful of that.
The one that's funny is that it happened to me the other day is I'm recording a message and I have an incidental fart and that blasts out. My buddy's playing the message and his wife's like, "What the hell was that?"
That's not a first time for you, though.
It's the same thing with the belches. They just hit me while I'm talking and I just gotta go. I gotta lean over and let it go.
My father's funny. He'd be like, "Oh, we gotta remember, is your old lady around?" I said, "Yeah, she's around. She's hearing everything we're saying." "Oh, Jesus, we better watch our conversation." I said, "You ain't gotta watch your conversation around my old lady. She's heard it all. She's been with me for 21 fucking years. You don't think she ain't heard it all?"
Yeah, like, I'm not one to, like I said, I try not to just randomly swear or anything, but, I'll be saying something in with the guys and stuff, and I'd be like, "Oh, man, look at that chick. I'd fuck that, or I'd nail that." And they'll be like, "Hey, shh, your wife's right over there." I'm like, "Yeah, fuck her. I don't care." I'm like, "Yeah, she knows me."
I tell him it's okay. My wife pointed it out to me. If I ain't paying attention, say, "Hey, look at that over there."
Hey, by the way, on a slightly different topic, do you guys see that friggin' snow squall that hit us today?
Freaking got almost 3/4 of an inch here. It's still on the ground. We were going to the movies. It was like 3:15. We actually went to the movies at like 4, and then we ate, whatever. But it was a whiteout condition between here and Auburn when we were going to the movies at like 3:15. We got to Auburn, sun was out, but it was brutal.
Yeah. I was out in my backyard, and I was like, I'm like, oh, it's pretty nice out. I was working on something. Snow picked up, and the wind picked up, and I'm trying to look a couple hundred feet across the yard at my tower. I couldn't see it. It was that bad. I came inside. I looked like a friggin' snow yeti. It was all through my beard. It was all over my jacket. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, we've got a quick dusting up here.
Oh, it was bananas, fix it. I mean, you had like no visibility for like, what, an hour?
Yeah, I mean, I was driving into town when it happened. I was outside, and it just started, and then, I was doing something back and forth between here and there. I was just putting this rack together, actually. My wife was like, "Oh, it's almost time for us to leave. The movie starts at 4. I'm like, "Okay, it was whatever, 3 o'clock, 3:15, snowing a little bit." We go to leave, and like, "Oh, it's snowing pretty hard." Thought, didn't even hit the fire department, and you couldn't see anything. I was like, holy shit.
It was causing accidents and everything. The scanners started off instantly. It just came quick. 1 minute it was real clear outside. Next minute you look out the window, it was like snow squall, like the radio man was saying. You could barely see across the yard. Like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, that was crazy because the wind, it was coming down pretty good, and then the wind picked up, and it was light and fluffy enough that the wind picked up all the snow on the ground and started blowing around. I was like, wow. And then it stopped. It stopped as fast as it started. Like when it stopped, it was like a light switch.
Yep, same thing here.
got to admit, though, Mother Nature's been awful kind to us this year.
Just the way we're riding, just outside the jet stream, that's all. This way it's coming across the eastern belt here. It's either been just above us or just below us. We've missed a lot of them.
Yeah, I know, Regal. I think my sister down in Connecticut's gotten more snow than we have.
It's pretty crazy, yeah. Boston, Connecticut, and all them have got quite a bit of snow in the last month or so, and we've been pretty lucky. We've missed half their storms.
Makes me wonder what she's got planned for us on March 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've been, we've had some cold weather, which sucks to have it cold and no snow, but I've been okay with the fact that I've only had to plow like twice this year, I think.
The almanac hit it right on the head. That's exactly what they predicted. 1 or 2 storms a month.
Well, I'm sure we still got something in there, that's for sure.
Another good 6 weeks anyways before we're ever out of the woods. I mean, the middle of April, if we make it past the middle of April, we're pretty much downhill from there, but gotta make it to the middle of April in the state of Maine and say we ain't got no more snow coming.
I usually, my goal is like the middle of March. After that, I know we still get some storms, but I'm like, even if it's 4 inches, it's usually gone within a couple of days. You know, you're getting more 40-degree days in there, 50 degrees sometimes. So I'm like, you know, unless it's like a foot, I don't plow after, you know, the middle of March. But, you know, if it's a foot, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, we've only had, I don't know, 3 or 4 storms that our road got plowed, and I've had 3 out of them 4 storms in my yard got plowed, not many times at all.
I think we only used our snowblower once, and maybe I plowed twice that I can think of.
Those are the kind of winters I like.
This is a leaf blower about 5 times.
Exactly.
But I'm definitely not complaining about only going through a half a barrel every month of oil.
We still had some cold weather, though. Like, with no snow, there's no insulation on the ground, you know. I mean, I know we've had some weeks where it's obviously been in the 40s, but we had a couple weeks, or week and a half, where it was in the single digits. No negatives, though. I don't know if I've seen, at least around here, I don't think I've seen negative yet this year.
We had a day or so of it back last month. Last month, yeah, we had a day or so of it down there on the coast.
Roger.
wasn't a lot, just single number digits, like 5 or whatever, but it was just a 24-hour period or whatever.
I'll tell you. So we were at camp last weekend, and, you know, I mean, around here, I'm seeing grass on a lot of lawns. You know, a lot. I had fucking almost 2 feet of snow at camp. It was well over 18 inches. Got off the side-by-side or whatever, four-wheeler, and it was up to your knees. There was no grass showing nothing. It was unbelievable. And camp's not even that far. I don't know if it's kind of in the, you know, in a valley in between mountains. I don't know if shit's gotten stuck there or what, but I couldn't believe it. Seen a couple of snowmobiles on the trail as we were leaving, and I was like, yeah, there wasn't even a bare spot on the trail by the road. I was like, that's fucking unreal.
Yeah, basically the same thing here. I mean, it's hit or miss in my area. There's a little bit of snow here and there, but you see a lot of grass in a lot of places. And I traveled way down the coast the other day going into Rockland. And same way down that way. I mean, you see a little bit of snow here and there, but for the most part, you see grass showing in a lot of places.
Yep, down at work in Saco, we got no bankings. There's no snow out in the woods. There's very little. Like, you can find a banking here or there if it was piled up, but woods, the normal lawn, I'm like, it's just brown. You know, I know that's, you know, obviously a little further south, but even leaving my driveway, going from here to Gray, in Gray Center, I mean, I'm sure Radio Man's noticed it. There's hills on the side of the road, but there's no snow from the snow plows. You know, there's no banks on the side of the road. And some of the rolling hills that are around, they're completely bare. It's just brown grass.
Yeah, the open hay fields and shit, same way up towards Augusta, the mother-in-law's area, same way. All open fields, you see grass everywhere.
It was definitely not the way at camp, I know that.
But the camp area, in your area, that's over towards the foothills and up towards that area, region of the mountainous areas of Maine. So yeah, they've had them a few good storms that we didn't get down south here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. They definitely have gotten something. Was that Novocaine? Good evening, good evening. How goes it, young whippersnapper?
What's going on, Bob?
Roger. Well, I mean, it's up past 9 o'clock on a Saturday, so you're partying hard out there. Oh, good evening, Taz. How are you doing?
Not too bad. What are you up to?
Oh, not a damn thing. Well, yeah, pottering and cleaning around, but thinking I was going to go inside and talk in there just because my phone died. I need to charge it up to set my alarm for the morning. I'm too lazy.
Oh, 10-4. Does it sound all right to you?
Yeah, it's not overly loud, but it sounds fine. What you playing with?
Yezu. I just turned the mic gain up a little bit.
Roger.
That seemed to help out a little bit. 1, 2, hello?
Yeah, definitely got louder. It almost sounds like you're trying to talk like you don't want to wake your parents up when you're 12 years old on the phone type deal, but yeah, I mean, it definitely got louder. Well, I mean, that's the only way I could explain it. You know, I mean, it got loud. It sounded good. It just, the way your voice is, you just kind of like back here, kind of like, don't want anybody to hear you type deal.
Oh, 10-4. No, I don't know. Talking in the mic a little louder now. Is that better?
Yeah, sounds good. What is it for a Yaesu?
FTDX10.
Roger. It's funny. Hawkeye was just saying he's been seeing a lot of those for sale lately.
Still.
All these people buying all these high-dollar ham radios just to talk on 11 meter. I like it.
Oh, 10-4. No, I don't know. Talking in the mic a little louder now. Is that better?
Yeah, sounds fine. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously you just heard your playback, so it sounds fine.
Roger. No, that sounds good. I don't know. Definitely don't really do the power I expected on AM, but that's all right.
Oh, it'll probably start swinging backwards on AM.
Yeah, you don't see it on an analog meter at all. You see the power, but it really doesn't swing up. It's like it does it too quick to... I mean, it's got forward swing, but you don't really see it on the meter. It just basically a dead key and a little forward swing.
Yeah, I mean, you got me at an 8, swinging to a 7 over here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take getting used to, I know that.
Yeah.
Those people are gonna argue with me. We've already had this argument a couple times tonight, but any of these HF radios are not CBs. They are not designed for AM. They are what they are. You're not going to see the numbers like on AM. They don't forward swing. They're not supposed to. They're supposed to say dead in the water. Or backward swing, just a little bit. That's what they do.
That's exactly what I'm seeing. Is it's just dipping. I'm going from a 9 to an 8, just ever so slightly.
What was that, radio man? I keyed with you.
Oh, I was kind of echoing what Screwdriver's seeing, is that your dead key's at a 9, but when you speak, it dips back to an 8.
Your ALC's not kicking in because it sounds good. That's, like I said, that's perfectly normal. You might be able to turn the power down on it to gain some of that back. I don't know what you get your power set on.
I agree. You know, it sounds a lot better than what Rooster sounded like, which I don't know what Hawkeye was thinking. I think Hawkeye, he's, I don't know what he was trying to say that before. I think he got a little pissed though and asked if he fell and hit his head.
Yeah, it was set on 20. It's on 10 now.
It stopped doing it here. Now you just dead key in a 7. I don't have an analog meter, but I don't see, flickering up or down, so that's better.
I'll leave it right there then, I guess.
I mean, it's nowhere near the audio you normally have, or the audio Radio Man has, or Fix-It has, or Regal has out here. Sounds good. It's clean, and it's loud enough. It's just not really in the same playing field.
No, I don't expect it to be anyway, you know what I mean?
People seem to get pissy lately when I tell them that I don't run any of those type radios on AM. Not a single one. I've got radios that sound decent. I got my 440 will swing forwards and sounds decent on AM, but still not up to CB quality. So I say CB quality. I shouldn't actually put it like that because I'm not going to say this thing sounds great, but it's not as loud as CBs. So the differences are on the receiving end. Somebody's turning up their volume and turning it down